Hi, math students. In case you are absent or if you just need to hear it again, I'm doing a short video that covers the study guide. Number 1 says, a circle has a radius of 40 centimeters. Which of these is closest to its circumference? So first thing we know is that the radius, which is the center to the outside, is 40 centimeters. To find circumference, it is pi times diameter. So the first thing that we need to do is find the diameter from the radius. Diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. So the diameter is 80. 80 times pi, and in this case, we can't just leave 80 pi because they're asking us for the actual number. So we want to know what is 80 times 3.14. I know 80 times 3 is 240, so this has to be the closest estimate. Number 2, the circle has a radius of 6 units. 3 students tried to calculate the area. Order their answers from farthest from the exact area to closest. So I'm going to start with the closest. I know that area of a circle, area is equal to pi times the radius squared. When we use 3.14, we're estimating. So the closest answer, the most exact answer, is leaving pi as part of the answer. Since the radius is 6, 6 squared is 6 times itself, 36, and 36 pi would be the closest to the exact area. So here I'll put 36 pi. The next best thing is using 3.14. So 36 times 3.14 is 113.04 or 113.1. And the farthest, which is actually just wrong, 113.1 pi, that is just plain an incorrect answer. Number 3 says determine whether each relationship is proportional. A, we've got the diameter and radius of a circle. Well, radius is always multiplied by 2. The diameter is always multiplied by 1/2. So this is definitely proportional. Here we have a graph. And remember, to figure out what we multiply, or if it's proportional, we have to see if we always multiply by the same thing. So here, I know to go from pi to 2. Actually, I'll go the other way. Let me undo that. To go from 2 to pi, which is 1 pi, that would be 1/2 pi. 1/2 pi. I know that 9 pi is not half of 6, so right there we know it's not proportional because 6 times 1/2 pi would be 3 pi. For the part C, here we multiply radius times 2 pi, not just 2 because it has the pi. 3 times 2 pi is 6 pi, and 4 times 2 pi is 8 pi. So this is also proportional. Number 4, decide whether each quantity describes a circle's circumference or area. The amount of glass in a circular window. Well, the amount of glass doesn't just go around the edge, it covers the entire thing, so that's area. The number of tiles needed to go around. Right there, that's a key word that tells us that that's the circumference. C says the amount of paint needed to paint a circular tabletop. We don't just paint around the edge, we paint the entire surface, so that's area. And then the distance a toy car travels around a circular track, that's got to be circumference because it's going around. 5A says to complete the table for the relationship between the radius and the circumference of a circle. So circumference is pi times diameter. So the first thing that we need to do is double the radius to get the diameter. If the radius is 1, the diameter is 2. The circumference is 2 times pi, which is 2 pi. If the radius is 2, the diameter is 4, and 4 times pi is 4 pi. And then if the radius is 3, the diameter is 6. 6 times pi is 6 pi. Part B, it says, explain how you know the relationship between the radius of a circle and its circumference is proportional. Use the table if it helps with your thinking. Well, to go from the radius to the circumference, here we multiply by 2 pi. Here we also multiply by 2 pi. Here we also multiply by 2 pi. The 2 comes from doubling the radius to get the diameter, and then diameter is always multiplied by pi. The radius is always multiplied by 2 pi to get the circumference. 6a, the shape is made of part circle and part rectangle. First, they asked to find the perimeter. So I'm going to start with the straight pieces. I know that if this side is 4, then this side also has to be 4. And here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 plus 8 more is 16. So the straight edge pieces equal 16. As far as the circular pieces, the distance around is circumference. Circumference is pi times diameter. Whoops. In this case, the diameter is 8, so that's 8 times pi, which is just 8 pi. However, because we only have half a circle, we have to cut that amount in half, and half of 8 pi is 4 pi. So the total perimeter is 16 plus 4 pi. As far as the area, so the area is the inside. Area of a rectangle is length times width. We already know that this distance is 8, so for this rectangular piece right here, it would be 8 times 4, which is 32. The area of a circle, area is pi times radius squared. Since the radius of this half circle is 4, I would square 4. 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times pi is 16 pi. But again, we only have half a circle, so I need to cut that amount in half. Half of 16 pi is 8 pi. So the area is 32 plus 8 pi. Number 7, it says that Brielle needs to paint the bottom of 2 pools. One can of paint covers 125 square feet. Pool A is a circular pool with a diameter of 24 feet. How many square feet does Brielle need to cover with paint? So we are looking for the area. Area is equal to pi times radius squared. We were given the diameter, so I need to cut that in half first. Half of 24 is 12, so that would be pi times 12 squared. 12 squared is 144, and 144 times pi is 144 pi. The next part says, what is the fewest number of cans of paint Brielle must buy to cover the bottom of pool A? Well, we know that 1 can of paint covers 125 square feet. For this part of the problem, I have to get an approximation of square feet, so I'm going to figure out what 144 times the approximate value of pi is. So I'm going to solve 144 times 3.14. 144 times 3.14 is 452.16. I'll divide that amount by 125 since that's how much 1 can of paint covers. And that gives me about 3.6. We can't go to the store and buy 3.6 cans of paint, so we would need to round that up and buy 4 cans of paint. Round up to have enough paint. Pool B is a circular pool with a diameter of 48 feet. Brielle says that twice the amount of paint is needed to cover the bottom of pool B. Is Brielle's claim correct? Well, I know that the diameter for the original pool was 24 feet, and this pool now that we're talking about is 48 feet. So while it's true that 48 is 2 times 24, we don't find the area just by multiplying by 2. We would have to multiply by 2 squared. So no, that it's not true that we need twice as much paint. You don't just multiply by the scale factor to get the scaled area. It's the scale factor squared. So it will have an area That is 2 squared, or 2 times 2, 4 times as large. Okay, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please be sure to let me know.